Yo, coming to you live from World Championship in San Jose. Welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
I just hope Assassin and Ranger in particular just get a ton of generically very strong stuff. Like, that's my hope. I just want Assassin and Ranger to get some just very, very strong things because, let's be honest, they are two of the weakest classes in the game right now. Like, not counting Lexi for Ranger, and even then Lexi is like not like the upper echelons. Like, Lexi's like a mid tier hero. So like Lexi and Arachne getting significant power boosts, or not, Ranger and Assassin getting specific like significant power boosts, I think would be good. I mentioned this on Twitter, and I still stand by it. I think it's better to make weaker classes stronger than to nerf strong classes right now. I think it's more fun to buff weak classes than to nerf strong classes. So to bring everyone up to the same level as like the really strong classes rather than to bring the other ones down. You do get into a situation where power creep can be a thing there, but if the classes are already weak, then you're not really power creeping. There's no power to creep. It's so yeah.
I'm definitely more of a fan of, releasing more cards that buff things rather than getting rid of cards to debuff things.
Yeah, it's like a feel bad too. Like when people ban stuff, like when stuff gets banned, and then like the cold foil that you just bought, you can't play anymore, or whatever. Sometimes cards are just inherently broken, or they fundamentally go against the philosophies of the game. In which case, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is like bans due to meta deck power level, which is something like what's a good example of this? Like Crown of Seeds in Blitz, or like even like Winter's Wail, or Plunder Run, I guess, as well. Like that kind of stuff. But
it goes into what? Are we recording now? By the way,
I was hoping you'd ask. Yes, we are. How's it going, everyone? How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Living Legends podcast, a weekly Flesh and Blood podcast where we talk about all aspects of the Flesh and Blood trading card game. As always, I'm joined by two of my best friends in the entire trading card game community. We have Bill from the Spike Feeders. Spike Feeders Fab. Spike Feeders Fab.
Yes. Well, and technically still the regular Spike Feeders, but that's neither here nor there. Welcome to everybody, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. This is going to be a much looser episode. I think is something that Kel is going to go into a little bit more, but it's still going to be a good one. They're always good. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And then, of course, we also have your resident British boy, Az, from Go Again Gaming.
I'm a boy. Yay.
Yeah, boy.
A real boy.
I'm a naughty boy, though.
A bad boy.
But yeah, as Bill and Kel said there as well, it's looser, and that's why I was like, are we recording? Because we're just chatting, just general stuff about Flesh and Blood. That's what we're going to be doing today. There isn't no hot topics or anything really. So yeah, just going to be chatting about all sorts of random stuff in our weeks, and what we're going to be doing, and because there's going to be some spoilers from us as well, from all three of us.
That's like really the only big news that we have to talk about is that spoiler season is starting to ramp up, and by that I mean notifications are going out to those who are going to be receiving spoilers and helping preview cards, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after our week in Flesh and Blood, because we'll have a week of Flesh and Blood, and then we'll talk about that, and then like whatever else we want to talk about. So it's going to be a little bit looser. We can talk about like things we're currently enjoying in Flesh and Blood and all that kind of good stuff. So I guess I'll just start. I'll just start with my week real quick. Well, maybe not real quick, but it's probably real quick. So I was recently actually on Az's live stream. It was last Tuesday, and it was like an Azalea gauntlet. So he played Azalea, and I played a bunch of different decks. I have like 4 or 5. I have about 6 Blitz decks built, and I think I played with 4 or 5 of them.
You played. Yeah, it was all different matchups, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
smack me around.
a little bit. You beat my assassin deck, and it actually that loss actually, not just that loss, but it made me rethink my deck and the class. And so it's like a work in progress. And this is one of my favorite parts about trading card games just in general. I love deck building. Love deck building and brewing my own thing.
Yeah.
And that's what this assassin deck is. It's kind of just like this labor of love, and I tweak it constantly. It's had many different iterations, and I was kind of on a iteration where I was trying to get 2 attacks a turn, and I don't think that's good right now. I don't think that's good right now for assassin. I think it plays better as a 2-card hand, 1 attack, possibly a dagger plus an attack, and then blocking a lot, and then just trying to bleed cards, which is more of a mid-range strategy. And so I've tuned the deck to be more focused on that. I've added in some actually like defense reactions and that kind of stuff, and I'm going to be playing that on the live stream that I'm going to be doing today with Az. And I also, in doing so, I also like I tweaked 1 card in my Lexi deck, and I have no idea why I haven't been running this card in Ranger, because it seems absolutely perfect. If you have it, it's a very expensive card. It's probably one of the most expensive cards in its normal version, and it's Eye of Ophidia. And I'm like, wait a minute, why am I not running Eye of Ophidia in my Lexi deck? You get to opt to when you pitch, and so like if I pitch to activate Voltaire, I get a opt. So like on a turn where I want a 3 of a kind, I could actually before 3 of a kind, pitch to Voltaire to maybe put a arrow from my hand into the arsenal, and then opt to make sure I actually draw cards that don't suck. So I'm like, why have I not been running this? Like, so anyway, I swapped out a card for Eye of Ophidia in that deck. We'll see how it does. I don't block very much often anyway, so. And it also makes Ardawar really good too, because like you pitch to Ardawar, you get to opt before you draw the 2. So once again, it helps ensure that you don't whiff. Because also in the stream against Az, I had probably the worst 3 of a kind hand that I've ever had.
I remember that. Yeah.
Like I whiffed, and Az had a couple bad whiff turns too, so it was like it evened it out. But it was a turn where I Ardaward and 3 of a kind. I drew 5 cards, not a single attack, not a single arrow. I Ardawar, drew 2, right? And then I did 3 of a kind, drew 3. And then my turn was, because I wanted to get rid of these cards in my hand because I wanted to draw up, I played Rain Razors, and then one of the blue cantrip cards, I call them cantrip cards, and then just passed the turn, or Arsenal, and then pass so I could drop. So it sucked so bad. Not only did I whiff, but I also had to waste both of my Rain Razors so I could actually draw into a hand that's playable.
We were saying on the stream, weren't we? We were saying like, because I had a turn as well, similar to that, where I couldn't do anything, and we was like, if the quiver was on board, we could have had a look and done something. And when we drew up, we both had an arrow on top of our deck.
Like even if we didn't have the arrow, like it still would have been nice to have that option.
Exactly. Yeah, and we wouldn't have to waste the Rain Razors then either. You could just pitch them away to have a look, see if that's the thing, and then. But yeah, I think both of us, when we drew up, because I had a red headshot on top of my deck, so I could have put that in and fired it off.
My turn would have been really good. The top card of my deck was a Endless Arrow. So what I would have done is I could have done that Endless Arrowed into the arsenal, pitching the blue cantrip card, fire the Endless Arrow, and you didn't know that I had double Rain Razors in my hand. No, so there was a good chance that you blocked maybe 6 or something, and then I just double Rain Razors and get it back. Like it would have turned my turn, and that was a nothing turn, into like a good turn. So
yeah,
I'm really actually looking forward to the bow, or to the quiver. Like that is 1,000,000%. I want a cold foil one, and I want to put it in my Lexi deck. Like unless we get another quiver that's like better for my strategy, even then I think it just shows up like the most feel bad turns. So
yeah.
At the very least, even if it doesn't fully dig you out of a situation, it gives you another shot at potentially doing so.
Yeah.
Like it is actually better than not having it, because it just gives you an additional chance to get yourself out of a bad situation, like with 3 of a kind or something.
And it's like this is like a straw man argument, but it's like, it's not that I don't have enough attack actions in the deck too. And, it's a blitz deck, 40 card deck. I think it's like I have like, almost 30 attack actions. It's like 30 to 10 ratio. Like the odds of me drawing 5 non-attacks in a row is like really low, but sometimes it just happens. Like, and you just draw it all. So
that's me. It's just one of those ranger situations that you sometimes get yourself into because you don't have a weapon on board.
Yep.
I'm just going to segue this naturally because I had potentially and probably the undisputed best Azalea player in the world on the Azalea Cult today, which did stream today, but it is now available on demand when you're listening to this on Go Again Gaming. So yeah, well, that was today with Jim from FAB TCG Cards. We had Levi Rausch on the channel, who is the one who's consistently done top 8s and top 4s with Azalea.
nice.
And he said exactly the same thing. There were moments where he, you couldn't do anything. He drew a ranger hand, which had loads of buffs and a rain razors. You can do nothing. But if the quiver was on board, he would have said he would have used it, and lo and behold, the arrow that the sleep dart was on top. He said in this scenario during the stream. So it's one of those things that can pull you out of that ranger situation, which does, make the slot worth having for the sake of one card in your deck.
Yeah, like Ranger. So I think about this a lot. I think Ranger is fundamentally punished when it comes to a lot of Flesh and Blood things. And what I mean by that is Flesh and Blood is a game with very little variance when compared to other trading card games, right? Because every card in your hand has multiple functions. You can block with it. You can use it as a resource. You can use it for its effect, for the most part, barring, instances and other corner case cards like gems or whatever. Most cards have 3 effects, which really actually reduces the variance in terms of like what you can do. But Ranger, sometimes Ranger, you just can't do anything because you don't even have a weapon to attack with.
Right.
And not just that, you also have all of like what we call like the ranger tax, and that you have to filter everything through your bow, which makes everything cost an additional 1. So it makes those the stat breakdowns on attacks different. Like a 1 for 5 is not actually a 1 for 5; it's like a 2 for 5, right? And it makes your 2 for 6, like the only one so far, battering bolt, into a 3 for 6, right? Whereas other classes, you would get a 3 for 7. Like that's what you get for Guardian. You get a 3 for 7 for Guardian. I don't know why battering bolt doesn't attack for 7, but I guess you can make it 7 if you use your bow effect to make it 7. If you're running Voltaire or Shiver or Dreadbore, but if you're running Death Dealer like most Azalea players at least, then it's not. You do get a draw card from Death Dealer, but anyway, so I think Ranger just fundamentally is more prone to non-hands that other classes just aren't, right? Like how many times, for those playing like Guardian out there, how many times have you played Guardian and you kept a 4-card hand and you're like, I can't do anything? Never?
That's
absolutely never? But for Ranger, you have 4-card hands that do nothing. It's like... That's
right.
So... Yeah. Even if... The worst part is even if you have a 4-card hand that does nothing, if you draw more cards, you still have that opportunity to do nothing, which is makes it so much worse. And it's not just we've seen it at the... Was it at the Calling or the Pro Tour? We had... I don't remember his name. He does a podcast. Oh no!
Thinking of Isaac Jessen?
Yes, of Isaac, who whiffed.
I watched that happen in real time.
Oh, I was calling that match. I was on coverage for that match, and it absolutely destroyed my soul to see it happen. And he had the game won. He was going to win. If he drew any arrow, it doesn't matter what it was. It could have been a blue headshot. If he drew any arrow, he was going to win. And he drew nothing, and he had to arsenal and pass.
He had such an insane control over the game from the first turn.
Yeah.
I remember it every single step of the game up until that 3 of a kind. I was like, this is in the bag. There's no way for this Briar to get out of this, because it was he was consistently tripping him enough with frostbites and just putting on enough pressure that he couldn't keep cards back and stuff like that. And then he had one off turn. He had the one whiff. Lost the game.
And
Cool.
he was the person I was rooting for most to win the whole event because like he had a good deck and like positioned really well in the top 8 to like do very well because it was against a lot of like aggro decks and he could like he had a really good record against Briar leading up to that. I think he beat every Briar he faced and it was like a bunch. He beat like 9 Briars in a row or something. Because I remember talking about that on coverage. And then the 3 of a kind whiff, just it's so heartbreaking, man. So Quiver, man.
That's the reason why LSS was likely so okay printing, something that's above rate for cards. Normally we draw 2 cards. Most of the time, actually, it's draw a card.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get 2, 3 of a kind, you get 3, but sometimes you still lose.
Like,
Yeah.
Like to put it this way, I have a lot of cards that let me draw cards in my Lexi deck. I have all of the cantrip cards, and those are the cards that if you play from Arsenal, you get a draw card. So I have 6 of those. I have 2 Art of Wars and 2 3 of a kinds, right? So that's 10 cards that draw me extra cards, and I still run into the situations where I can't do anything. Even when I play an Art of War to draw 2 and then play a 3 of a kind to draw 2, you just get nothing. And I don't even have that many like pumps in the deck either. Like I have 4. I have 2 lightning presses and 2 rain razors.
Bloody hell.
So
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's that. There's that. It's a little side rant about Ranger. Really hoping that Ranger gets a massive buff. I don't know if I'm going to leave the bit in the beginning about us talking about this or if I was even recording at the time. But I really hope that Ranger and Assassin get huge buffs in Outsiders. They both really need them. They're both like classes that you consistently see at the bottom of like the leaderboards basically. So
yeah.
Come on, give us some good stuff. Give us some good stuff.
Thing is as well is like a balance. Is it a balancing issue with the fact that the set's obviously going to have Azalea cards in as a Ranger, but then potentially Lexi can access them as well.
Oh yeah, give me that. Give me. It's perfect. Well, so sort of. So here's the thing. I don't think it's that. Oh yeah, give me the degenerate Ranger stuff. I think it's our time to shine. But I think Lexi's gonna be fine because the current meta Lexi is Ice Lexi, right? Not even like an aggro. It's more of like a mid-rangey controlling Ice Lexi style build.
Yeah.
That you rely on the on-hit effects and your shock charmers to get the extra ping to generate multiple discard effects or frostbite effects. That's what the current Lexi is. So I don't think generic Ranger goodness will help it that much, at least that iteration of the deck. My favorite Lexi deck is my no fuse Lexi deck that I just talked about, where I literally, the only elemental cards, like the only ice and lightning cards, are the cantrip cards, and I literally only use them to cantrip and then get some small value out of turning them face up before I cantrip with them. So I like those because they're value cards. Turn them face up, you get a frostbite, and then I get a draw card when I play it, and I get an effect too. The effect is secondary. So like my deck is poised to get a lot of good stuff from this because I could use all of the great generic stuff because literally every Ranger attack in my deck is a generic Ranger attack, and I even use a bunch of generics like a CNC and E-Strike in my deck. So like getting more like good Ranger stuff will help me actually like take those out and like swap them for better stuff. So like for example, if we get more 6 attack, like good 6 attack Ranger cards, then I might swap them out for my CNCs.
I think we'll see a lot of the. I think we'll see a lot of aim counter stuff though. So I don't think Lexi will benefit from that, will she? Because she's not running Sand Scour. She'll run the Voltaire still.
We'll see. I'm sure we'll get some generic ones that aren't aim counter stuff. I'm also curious to see what bow is in the set because you mentioned Sand Scour, but I don't think they'll reprint Sand Scour. I think it'll be like a different aim counter bow or something. I don't know. We'll see. It definitely has to be a bow because for Azalea to get aim counters, she doesn't have it on her hero ability, obviously, because we already know what she does. So it has to be like a bow or something to get the aim counter. So we'll see. I mean, I already run an aim counter card in my deck. I run drill shot. So I mean,
drill shot's great.
Yeah, even without the aim counters, it's good. So yeah, that's my long-winded week in Flesh and Blood.
Pure Ranger love there, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Ranger and Assassin, man, and that's why I'm so excited for Outsiders. My two favorite
Mhm.
classes, and also I really like Ninja as well. I don't talk about Ninja a lot, but I've mentioned it before here on the podcast. Ninja was the first class that I ever played in Flesh and Blood before I kind of started playing Dorinthia a lot more. Dorinthia and Katsu were the two characters that I played the most when the game first came out, and I don't necessarily think Ninja needs a huge boost in power, but I think Fi, and I think not Fi. I think Katsu and Benji could use a boost. Fi doesn't need a boost. Get out of here, Fi. You're already good.
Yeah, go away.
You're already good because
Much
all your
focal.
crap kind of combos with itself. And I think this is something that Bill we've talked about before, where like combo's kind of a clunky-ish mechanic, and
Yeah.
Fi just makes it so more or less all of his things have combo more or less because it cares about playing X number of draconic chain links, and all of his things are draconic. And so it's kind of loosely like combo where you just play like 4 draconic cards and then or 2 draconic cards or whatever, and you're good to go. So
Yeah, the thing that I've always found interesting about Katsu is on paper his effect seems super crazy. It's an on-demand tutor for the card that you need for the situation.
Yeah.
But what it really ends up being is just like a way to make the deck work.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can actually like. I don't know. It's really hard to get like extra value out of it. It's just kind of like the bare minimum for the deck to function.
Yeah.
Like the best
So,
like
yeah.
So I posted my Katsu deck, and some people who have tried it out are also really enjoying it, and they're like, "Oh, I brought it to my armory and I went 3-0, or a skirmish and went 3-0," and then someone else was like, they're like, I presented 20 damage on turn 1, and I'm like, you could do that. Like it's still a ninja, but you need like the right set of things to do it. Like sometimes it's just kind of like here's an attack, and then here's like another attack, but none of them are like super like spicy. But you can also have turns like I played against Az on his live stream where you kind of cheated a little bit, where you attack with a card with combo. Like I attacked with like Rushing River with no combo, and then he blocked a little bit, and then I Snapdragon Scalers into like Break Tide, and so like because it was my last attack, I still got the 5 dominate on Break Tide plus the on hit effect and all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of like cheat it a little bit with like Snapdragon Scalers and that kind of stuff, but yeah. Which is why I like 100 Wins, by the way. 100 Wins is a card that combos with itself, and I think it's really good because that means you run 100 Wins, and then you just run all the 100 Wins. And so that means you actually have 6 other cards in a Blitz deck that combo with it, 100 Wins plus the Winds of Eternity. And so you don't have to get that one specific one. It's just any other 100 Wins. Doesn't matter. And you just slam it down, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So, I like.
It's good fun to see that as well.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you got the Winds of Eternity off though. Did you at one point? You didn't get any of those off.
I attacked you, but you blocked it out. I'm pretty sure. I think I had I think I had a thing where I attacked you and you blocked it out.
Yeah, Oasis Respite.
Yeah. Well, you run a very defensive. You run a very defensive version of your Azalea. You have a lot of D-Reacts in there.
Yeah, there's quite a few in there. Yeah, the Blitz version at least. Maybe I should change that, but just go a bit more aggro-y, a bit more aggressive. But yeah, Blitz is just one of those things, isn't it? It's just like if someone gets ahead, it's hard to claw back into it, isn't it? Almost.
Yeah.
With CC, you can take 10 damage and then still potentially get back into it enough to then carry on. Which is the only downside I think to Blitz is that you can't really take those turns. It's hard to get back into it.
I like that about Blitz, to be honest, because it makes your blocks more meaningful. Because if you are like me and don't block, you are running a very real situation, or running the very real risk that you take too much damage, you miscalculated, and then it's hard for you to get back in. I think where it gets really dangerous are against the classes that I consider, or the heroes that I consider unfun, like Kano and Reinar, where you don't have a choice in that if you're taking damage or not. Like for Reinar, you don't have a choice. That's where it can get into like these situations where it's a little less fun, in my opinion. But I do like the do I block, do I gamble, do I be greedy kind of dynamic there, where you're actively making the decision of like, whether or not you want to be greedy and take the risk. So
yeah,
I really
guess
like that.
Yeah, I guess in Blitz that decision point only comes up maybe once in the game. Like the thing is like, oh, do I do this? Do I be greedy now and just crack back and hopefully just hold the tempo enough to finish the game? Whereas CC is a lot more decision points, I think. Whereas Blitz is like the one turn you're fucked basically. Oh, sorry, but
we're like 20 minutes in. We won't get demonetized. Apologies.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
where was it? There was a post from one of our locals on the Discord for an event that was going on Thursday. They were playing KO. And I've never had good luck with KO, but this turn was absolutely beautiful. Turn 1, they were able to present, 26 damage. Because they were able to go Blood Rush Bellow, discard the right thing, into Tear Limb from Limb, discard the right thing, into what's that? It's the new card from I think Uprising. I think it's like the 6 that gains 6 if you've discarded a card with 6 or more attack.
Oh yes, I think that might have been
Savage Beatdown, or
I think that was Ian's spoiler card. Yeah,
but yeah, so just very emblematic of what Az is talking about here, of like Blitz is a game where you have maybe one decision, and in this case, the decision was die.
Oh mate, I've never heard Tear Limb from Limb being that good. Like I've never heard a story with that card involved.
Oh, brilliant. Ian has stories where he one-shot Kanos like a turn 1, where with like. Oh. It's like double damage, just eat it. Like you just die no matter what. Like even if you block 12, you're still dead.
Yeah. I would love to be able to do that, but every single time I've played with KO, I think I've doubled my attack twice.
Yeah. So like that's the thing with KO, right? It is a gamble where sometimes you just kill them, and most of the time you attack for 3 instead of 12. It's like you're attacking for 3 or 12. That's it. Like,
and you're using like 3 cards to present 3 damage.
Yep. Hey, that it's like my Axadori, or my big Axadori deck on turns where I don't have pumps. Pitch 3, attack for 3, bring it.
Oh, yeah. KO is just so funny though, because it's all attack action cards, right?
Yeah.
So even CNCs can get doubled. Is that right?
Yeah, but they could also come in for 3 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Again, feels pretty.
I've played against a lot of Brute, because Ian is one of the people I play a lot in Flesh and Blood, and he plays Brute all the time. And so I have a lot of experience playing against KO, and most of the time it's like halved. Most of the time it's just like, cool, crazy, I block 3, and then I kill you because I have a 3-card hand, and yeah, it was easy. Or I just like, I don't care, I take it. Like, what do you do? What are you gonna do? Yeah. Like, come at me.
Pummel. Nah.
I mean, they could.
33% chance, isn't it? It's 1 to 4 miss, 5 to 6 hit, isn't it?
Yeah. On a die roll.
Yeah, die roll. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, but if they do hit, then it can be very scary, and you usually present like upwards of like 14 damage or whatever, depending on the cards. If it's like a doubled, like that one, the 2 for 8, it's coming in for 16, right?
Being big.
Yeah. Well, there's the other one too. The one from Welcome to Wraith where you have to discard a card at random. I forget its card, the name. Brute.
Becca Romp.
Yeah, that one. I was Brute fans will know. I don't remember. I don't play a lot of Brute. I play against Brute, and I'm just like, I know what the cards do. I don't know the names. For the most part.
When Bill said about Tear Limb from Limb, I'm just like, I could see the art, and I just could not remember what the card does at all.
That's the one that doubles, right? It's like a berserk.
Yeah. It doubles base, which is just it leads to some potentially very terrifying turns.
And with KO, so like the way it works with KO, is you don't get a double on the double, you just get the doubled base. So what happens if it's coming in for 6, it'll get basically plus 6 from KO's ability if you rolled right, and then another plus 6 from Tear Limb from Limb. So it's 18, which is still pretty good.
for a singular attack, like if it was 18 spread over multiple things, there are some ways to mitigate that a little bit better. But like when it's just a singular attack, it feels kind of bad.
Yeah, like my Lexi deck can push like 20, 25, 26 damage like on a good turn. But that's like me using like a bunch of cards. It's not like 2 cards. It's like the Rain Razors and a 3 of a kind, and then like, you know, cracking my Bullseye Bracers to get into a 3rd arrow attack, you know, that, and then hopefully maybe getting extra attacks off of Bolt and Shot, that kind of stuff. This is just getting back to me about like talking about how Rangers have it. Don't have it great. It still reminds me of that. It still reminds me of that meme of like, look what they have to do to match a fraction of our power or whatever.
Yeah. That's brilliant. This is interesting because we don't really look at brute cards that much on this podcast because none of us really play it. But so I've just to correct, I've looked at the card as well. It says draw a card, then discard a random card. If a card with 6 or more power is discarded, the next brute attack gains plus X, where X is its base power. It's not doubled.
Yeah.
So if you discarded a swing big, you'd get plus 8 on your next attack, which is still pretty good. Isn't it?
It would be doubling, or it'd be adding the base of the card that you attack with, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So like if you discard a card with 6 or more attack, and then you attack with a swing big, it would get plus 8. And then potentially an additional plus 8 from KO's ability.
Yeah. So like both KO's ability and Tear Limb from Limb effectively double the base attack of the attack that you're attacking with.
Yeah, but they just don't stack on each other. Like Correct. They don't. Yeah. You don't get like plus 8 and then plus 16 after that.
Yeah, it's always the base. It always looks at the base attack. Is basically the way I think about it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm reading it wrong. I'm thinking Tear Limb from Limb gives you plus X, where X is the card discarded, but that's not the case.
Oh yeah, no.
No,
that would be interesting. That'd be interesting, actually.
Yeah, but it's funny, because it's a blue pitch card which doesn't block either. Doesn't block.
If we want to talk about like downsides of Brute, that's one of the very big downsides of a lot of their cards just randomly don't block.
They just don't block.
What is there? Wild Ride, Pulping.
Oh, there's a bunch of them. Like
there's a bunch, yeah.
Like they just randomly
Smash with
don't.
Big Tree.
Yeah, Smash with Big Tree doesn't block either.
No. Do you know what I could see though? I could see like a brute having like a piece of armor or something that says that they get stuff if they take damage, like a barbarian.
Oh yeah.
Like barbarians, when they get hit, they get more pissed off. You know, they want to come at you for even harder. Yeah. That would be quite a cool mechanic. Like the more you hit them, the more damage you're going to deal back.
Yeah, either like a chest piece or something that like gains counters whenever you take damage, and then like you can break it for some value of that. Or if it has like a really strong effect, but you can only activate it if you have 5 or less life or something.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff sounds really good against certain strategies. Like that's a way to like absolutely dunk on like ninjas, right? So it's like, I'll take the Kodachi, sure. And then you like
you can see the flavor as well. You can see the flavor, like the ninjas coming at him, and he's just like, taking all the hits, and then suddenly he just comes cracking back. Yeah. Come on, Savage Lands, LSS, you listen to his podcast. I know one of you are. There's some design space for you.
If anybody at LSS takes my design and puts it on a card, I will request no royalties. I just want to see it done.
Hey, I don't think it was like intentional, but they did that with Payday, like with my version of Payday.
Right.
It was very close. It was very, very close. Just so people know, my Payday made 3 copper tokens. It was a 0, no go again, just get 3 copper. And then the actual Payday is 4 silver, but only if you did a contract. Obviously, I didn't know about contract. But other than that, they're like pretty close. Like I think close enough where I would like to say that I think the design space is pretty obvious for anyone who like, keeps up with Flesh and Blood design, but
I'm still kind of just gutted on a personal level that Payday isn't good, because the flavor of it is just exceptional.
Yeah,
it really is.
Did I cut that? Yeah, I cut them from my deck. They're fine in that they are blue and block for 3, but good luck playing it.
Yeah, but like they don't have go again, and also just getting the requirement anyway to then like like you were saying earlier, I think the type of play style that Arachne really lends themselves to is you blocking with 2 cards, keeping 2 cards back to have like a decent turnaround. So I just don't think that you can use Payday in that sort of scenario. You would have to have at least 3 cards in your hand realistically.
Payday, yeah. Payday sucks because you have to fulfill the contract, and you have to probably also break your Black Tech Whispers because no assassin attack action card currently has go again. So you'd have to attack with a card, fulfill the contract, break your Black Tech Whispers to give it go again, and then play the Payday on top of all of that. So you'd have to, at very minimum, waste like your equipment and 1 to 2 cards from hand. Well, no, 2 to 3 cards because you need the attack card and then you'd also need Payday. So,
yeah, I thought I would have thought this would have been easy to pull off if you just attack with one assassin attack action. And then, all right, yeah, because you need to give it go again, don't you? Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah, you can do that with the boots, but then also at the same time, you need to be able to fulfill the contract too. So like, even if it hits and it banishes something, if it doesn't fulfill the contract, then Payday still doesn't work.
Yeah, let me look at Payday exactly. Yeah, it says if you've completed a contract this turn, create.
Yeah, so you don't just have to hit them and banish a card. It has to be the thing that the contract fulfills. Yep. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And if you remember, like when the last time I played against you, I didn't fulfill a single contract that entire game, and so like didn't fulfill a single contract because you blocked out. You had a lot of defense reactions. So like that card would have been extra useless even if I had it, in hand on a turn where I think I could complete a contract. So yeah, Payday just.
Does Arachne not want to run? Do you run any Rain Razors in there to give the go again if it hits?
Oh, you mean Razor Reflex?
Sorry, yeah, that's it. Razor Reflex.
So in one of the builds that I did, yes, I did, but Razor Reflex is resource intensive in that it costs 1, where you can run the other assassin attack reactions that cost 0, and they're like have better rates. So like Cut to the Chase is 0 for 3, Shred 0 for 4. So in my current version, I run a pummel. So you're gonna have fun with the pummel today.
Oh yeah, I got surgical extraction pummeled on Talishar earlier today. Which was vile.
What's really vile and what I've come around to is running Goliath Gauntlet. So you can Goliath Gauntlet, Goliath Gauntlet surgical extraction for 6, and then pummel them for 10. So it
doesn't make sense, does it? A doctor wearing a Goliath gauntlet while pummeling the fucking surgical extraction into your head doesn't make sense. Sorry, I'm really foul mouthed today. It's because it's a chilled one. There's no sort of rail, so it's just like I'm just speaking normally.
We keep worrying about going off the rails, and that's the default for this episode.
That's the whole episode. It actually runs. I don't want to talk too much about the deck because I might do a deck tech on it before Outsiders comes out. But there's like 6 or 7 targets for Pummel and Goliath Gauntlet in the deck. So like I've tweaked it enough so that it's not just like a one-off thing. It's got like a lot of different targets. Because like if the idea is I keep like a 2-card hand and come in like for some damage, that makes cards like CNC and Fiendel's Fighting Spirit like pretty good in the deck, right? Where I just keep a blue and then I could just come in for 7 or 9 if I want to crack the gauntlets. And so it makes it for turns that like could be bad for me, right? Into turns where it helps me get tempo back, where I just arsenal a big old attack and just sandbag a blue, block with my whole hand, sandbag a blue, and then just
that's really good, yeah. And that's a really good tempo play, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the idea. We'll see how it works out.
Because a lot of those will have on hit effects as well, like surgical or CNC. You're getting the +2 from Goliath, pitching it, and then you're actually forcing more than the value of it as well. Almost.
Yeah, and then like on the flip side, you don't actually waste the blues for our average attacks because then you pitch the blue, attack with your dagger, and then attack with either one of the 1-cost 5 attacks or the 0-cost 4 attacks. So the blues, you still get value of having the blues. Like it's not like quote like wasted, right?
No, yeah.
So that's the idea, and I think the deck will perform decently. We'll see. We'll see how many times. We'll see if I can win a game. We'll see. But
yeah,
I'm still gonna work on it. I don't care if I keep losing with that deck. I love it. So yeah,
that's just one of those pet decks, isn't it? That's just round the corner is going to get some buffs, hopefully, because obviously it's going to be able to run. There's going to be generic assassin stuff in there, isn't there? It's just going to be more tailored to the draft as well.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of stealth stuff. But once again, we don't know what the new Arachne or Uzuri does. So like, I might just change the deck to be one of the new heroes, right? Because it's Blitz, so it could be new Arachne, it could be Uzuri. If the way I suspect is that Uzuri uses the stealth mechanic, which is probably going to be like an evasive mechanic. And if it is, it's more my speed, so I'll probably be doing that. So I don't know. We'll see. The good side is like, oh, cool, new stuff to play with. The downside for me is that I have a lot of new foils to buy because my deck is currently all foil, and I want to keep it that way. So it means I have a lot of foils to get. I'll have to message Jim. Jim, hold aside all the assassin foils. I want to buy all of them. This is what I did. I literally made a list after I opened up all my boxes. I made a list of all of the foil assassin cards that I didn't pull, like that I needed to get a full play set. And then I just sent it to Jim, and then he like compiled it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm only missing one.
I'm
only missing one, and it's
nice.
It is a foil surgical extraction. I have two. I need one. I need one more foil. I have non-foils, but
I gave one away. I was an idiot, right? I was on my vlog for Battle Hardened Leeds. I was really pissed, and I had a because I got a for entering the tournament. You got 3 packs, and I had it in this pocket. And I took it out and I just gave it to one of the people I was with. I was like, I have a surgical.
Just give him.
I was pissed.
Just give him like $150, man.
Yeah.
He's like he better like thank you. He needs to buy you like a round or something. Like
oh yeah. I'll be hanging out again.
This
at the
round's
next thing.
on me.
Yeah, like,
exactly.
Like seriously.
When I see him again, he's called NZ Eddie. I think he's on Twitter. He's in Discord and stuff. But I'll be seeing if you still have that card next time I see you.
Was it
flogging it for 150 quid on eBay?
Was it a foil or not foil?
Foil, yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I have my pile of Arachne cards that are just like basically just cards that would probably go into the deck. And I have I have 2 of each of the Majestics. Only 1 foil Leave No Witnesses, 1 foil Surgical Extraction, and then both Eradicates are foil. Yeah. And then I have like an extra non-foil Surgical as well that I think I pulled recently.
I have a full 3 of a kind foil set for every single assassin card in the game currently, except for except for Surgical Extraction.
You can run 3 of a kind in Arachne, can you? Or
you don't know how much that would make me happy. Well, it'll be hard to play cards from the arsenal, but still.
What if there's gonna be a hybrid ranger assassin 3 of a kind? It'll be like draw 3. It'll be an instant draw 3 cards at the end. When the chain link closes, you lose the game.
Absolutely.
I would play that. Like, I'm not even kidding. I would play that in like my deck for sure. Like for sure.
That'd be sick. Because obviously Regicide does that, doesn't it? That'd be awesome if there was like proper like balls to the wall. Do this, you get an extra turn, but afterwards you lose the game. Because Magic did something similar, didn't they? Or something. Gamble?
Yeah,
no, not Gamble.
There's the red extra turn spells. Warriors.
Hold on. It's
Final Gambit.
Yeah.
Final something. Yeah.
There was another one. Yeah, there was another one from like Amonkhet or something that did something like that too.
Yeah, it's like 2 in a red. It's time stop, but with that lose the game at the end of your turn effect as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I think that it would be kind of fun to see that around. Like obviously they're super polarizing, and I think there might be some precedent, at least for for my own contextualization of it, that makes me think that they might not want to explore that design space as much.
Okay.
Specifically,
so I can just think of a turn where you build it like, and I know some people watching out there are gonna get this reference. You build it like Doomsday Stack from Magic, where you pitch cards in such a way where you have Regicide. They'd have to be royal for it to get the insta kill. But I was thinking like you pitch Regicide and this, figment of our imagination, this draw 3 instant card, with a bunch of like pumps where you're able to play Regicide and so many pumps that there's no way that they can like defend against it, and you just insta win like no matter what. Like you like Regicide and it's like red shred, like you can't block anything, you die. You'd have to have at least one other pump because of stupid Oasis Respite, but still.
Yeah. Good old Oasis Respite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The thing that to me, like obviously different company, different design ideas, but I think it's a lesson that should likely be kept in mind for this type of effect. There are multiple cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh yeah.
That either like there are very few that I think win the game just like on the spot, and if there are, they require a decent amount of setup. There's Final Countdown.
Yeah, I was gonna say Destiny Board and Exodia are like 2 big ones.
Yeah, and like Exodia is super balanced by the fact that it's actually pretty difficult to pull off. It's very fragile. But if you do pull it off, then sure.
And the Exodia cards suck ass. Like, apologies for the language, but they do nothing.
But no, it's true.
Like by themselves, they suck. Like they do nothing. So.
Yeah, but there are also cards that I think, if I remember correctly, too, a lot of the cards that just straight up win the game in Yu-Gi-Oh! I could be wrong. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players comment down below if I'm incorrect, but most of them are still legal because they're like overly balanced towards if you can pull it off, then you deserve it. Kind of like how Regicide is.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! It's so. There are cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That don't necessarily say you win the game, but you basically win if you play them.
Oh yeah.
And the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Balanced it is they put the trap tricks cards in your hand. So like the cards that like if you have them in your hand and your opponent does a thing, then you discard them and you negate their thing.
It's additional interaction.
Yeah, which is like, in my opinion, maybe not the best way to go about it. Like
No. And that's not that's not where I'm going with this either. The cards that they did end up banning are the ones that are all or nothing cards. I think there's actually literally a card called All or Nothing, but it's like, there's one called Self-Destruct Button, which is if the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points are 7,000. Then you can activate this card, and it immediately sets both players' life to 0. Immediate tie. Nobody wins.
That sounds like a miserable card.
Yeah. No, because literally, I think the only thing that people would do is just try to tie as many games as possible, just to like fuck with tournaments because it was legal.
That sounds
so
absolutely miserable.
Yeah, so I would love to see more cards that are like Regicide, where it's like, it has a very like you play this card and the game is ending, but it may be a good thing that we don't have more of those types of effects. I think there's a branch of that sort of effect that might be able to work. I do think that alternate win conditions are interesting, but I don't know how they would be implemented specifically in Flesh and Blood.
There's quite a few like
there's quite a few like. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. No, like Magic is like there's a few ones in there like that reference like if you've got a certain amount of cards in your deck, you win like exactly 13 or stuff like that.
I used to listen to Mark Rosewater's podcast like every single. I've listened to like all of them up to a point, basically when I dropped Magic. And one of the things he mentioned in one of the older podcasts is that for every set that he designs or helps design, they always put an alternate win condition of some sort in the set. There's always at least one in the set. So like Magic for a long time just had one for like every set. I don't know if it's still true. Like I don't keep it with Magic. I don't know if the Phyrexia has an alternate win condition or whatever. But
it's toxic poison counters, isn't it?
Well, I mean, like I'm talking about cards like Approach of the Second Sun that just like they literally say like you win the game if you do this thing.
Win.
Or like Triskaidekaphobia or Lab Maniac or whatever. Like there's a bunch of them. Like Fastest Oracle was one of them, and We all know, if you know anything about competitive Magic, we all know what that did. Spoilers, it ruined it.
That's why Bill doesn't play EDH anymore, because of Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah,
basically. that's not incorrect.
If you play more, I don't play CEDH, but if you ever played against my more competitive decks, I won't kill you with Thassa's Oracle. I'll just kill you with infinite mana Walking Ballista. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or
there's nothing wrong.
Or Mikaeus the Unhallowed Triskelion combo. I do that as well.
It's okay.
With my
choices,
with my Japanese
Kiki anyway.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I do have Kiki. I have a Kiki Jiki, and I don't use Pestermat or anything. I use the Pirate. There's like a Pirate that lets you untap and gain haste or whatever. So I use that in my Maelstrom Wanderer deck, where I always put this is a way aside for Magic, but this goes into my philosophy about Flesh and Blood, the way I like to play. I always want a way to like end the game. Like I don't like playing games that take forever, and as such, I hate fatigue in Flesh and Blood. Like I know some people love it; they love like the intricacies of it and all this kind of stuff. But I'm like, I don't want to spend 2 to 3 hours like grinding this out. Like we need to end it. And so, as such, I always put in some way to just kill the game, like to kill everyone in my Magic, my Commander decks. And so, there's always some way. Always some way to.
How does that even happen in Flesh and Blood then? If you got 2 fatigue matchups, how do they win? Like if
you go to fatigue just hammer each other until whoever dies first. Like basically what happens is you go to fatigue and then just weapon.
So
So
at
it's
that
like
point, it's just
whoever had the most life going into it, and whoever got to attack first.
Oh God, that's awful, isn't it?
Yep. As someone who has casted multiple Oldhim versus Oldhim mirrors, I can tell you it is grueling. It is grueling.
Oh, mate. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't like fatigue. Flesh and Blood, all the Oldhim versus Oldhim mirrors that I had to cast. But yeah, I even told the guys doing the coverage on like doing the coverage. I'm like, don't do the Oldhim mirrors. Like I don't like.
Just don't do it. Yeah, just don't stream it.
It's like not fun for anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe one so you can see like the whatever like, but then like 3 of them back to back. No, that's gonna kill the stream. Like don't.
That's what I mean. Like the top 8s, like of recent, you know, the stream casting crew must be like, oh, for goodness sake, come on now.
Like
you know, rounds and rounds of Oldhim versus Oldhim.
Like say what you want about like Icelander, but at least Icelander kills you. Like at least she can just kill you. Like, and you don't have to just gruel through like stupid hammer attacks just over and over. Well, that hammer got banned, which is funny because it got banned like right after I complained about it. Maybe I'll complain about something and hopefully it'll get banned.
Hopefully, yeah.
Anyway.
I hate bloody Oldhim Icelander. I don't like Icelander either. It's just not fun.
Well, I mean, they're like taxing effects, and taxing effects are, you know, traditionally not really fun in card games. Like anyone who knows what stacks means in Magic knows that stacks is not fun. Like maybe for the person playing it could be fun, but for everyone else, it's a good way to. If you walk up and you're playing casually with your friends and you bust out a stacks deck, you might not have very many friends afterwards.
After that.
Like what are you doing? Like what are you doing, man?
Is Icelander and Tax and all this the way she works? Is she basically just like a counter spell deck, like because she just like counters what you're doing all the time?
Maybe
that's what it feels like anyway. Just like, oh, I want to do this. Okay, no counter spell. All right, my turn's over then.
Counter spells, they're different. I don't know how to put it. Counter spells are different because counter spells generally are 1-for-1s, unless you're talking about like the really good ones like Cryptic Command, where it's like a 2-for-1 because you get to draw a card, blah blah blah. Counter spells are usually like a 1-for-1. So like, what makes them good is that your opponent spends a lot of resources to play something big, and you spend 2 to play counter spell or whatever, or free to pitch a card to force a will and whatever. For Flesh and Blood, it doesn't really have that. So something like Channel Lake Frigid is just a flat tax on like literally everything your opponent does. It's not like a 1-for-1. You get like exponential value out of it depending on what your opponent wants to do. So in some ways it's like worse. In some ways it's better. It's better because it's on board. Your opponent sees it. It's not a gotcha kind of thing, which is I think one of the reasons why people get salty about counter spells is because it's like, no, you don't get to do the thing that you wanted to do. Like just like slapping it out of their hand.
That's what I mean. It's like it's the same thing though, isn't it? It's just like you're essentially just saying no to their turn because they know when to play it. They know exactly when you're
Right.
doing the most impactful thing, and they can respond at any time. So they're just
Well,
saying,
yeah, if it's in
no.
their arsenal, they can. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like for example, like Lexi can't. It's just you just play it on your turn. I think it's different. I think it's different. And I think a lot of people are too stubborn to build around it. So that's the other thing for Flesh and Blood. You can actually build around it, and there are ways to get around it by like having more resources and not being as greedy with like red line decks. But on the flip side of that, people who play the red line decks, and me included, are like, well, you can't include that many blues, otherwise it makes your deck overall weaker against all the other matchups. So it's more of a rock paper. What it boils down to is it's more of a rock paper scissors thing for Flesh and Blood. Unfortunately, as someone who likes the aggro decks, the tilt is towards the control ice side right now, right?
Yeah.
They're the big flavor of the month. That's what the people are playing. Another feeling.
There isn't the trifecta though, is there? Really, like the top 8s have just been all ice. It's just literally just Oldham and Icelander. That's it. There's been a few like I think I think it was Tarek that snuck in with Briar.
He played Briar, yeah. I think it's one of those situations where like a lot of the top players agree that like ice is the best deck, and so that they play ice. And Flesh and Blood is a game with very little, or not very little, but less variance than other card games. And so it's a game where you will see the better players more consistently reach top 8. And we've seen that with like Michael Hamilton. He's probably the best player in the world, and he is probably going to make top 8, if not win, a majority of the tournaments that he attends, right? Because Flesh and Blood cuts down on a lot of the variance. And I think that's what they wanted to do. We could talk about this a whole episode whether that's a good or bad thing or not, because something like that can push out prospective players, like the mid-tier pros, who are like, in other games might get there, like might get into a top 8 on, I don't want to say luck, but good matchups and a little bit more luck. Your opponent getting bad luck. For Flesh and Blood, it's minimized. It's still there. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's much more minimal than like. I guess we'll talk about Magic again, like Magic, because one of the big arguments that I've heard for the mana system for Magic, and I think it's sort of true, but it's also sort of BS because this is coming from, once again, Mark Rosewater, in that the mana system makes it so that a new player can still beat the best player in the world if they get lucky. Like, so if they get lucky and their opponent gets unlucky, you can beat them. And I think the example he uses like John Finkel. So it's like Mark Rosewater can beat John Finkel if John Finkel gets mana screwed, which is like, I don't know if that's a good thing. Like, it's true. Like,
can't do anything.
Your resource system is so fundamentally broken that the best player in the world can lose for no reason. That's true. But on the flip side, we have Flesh and Blood, where that's very minimal because every card does multiple things: resource, blocks, attacks, or uses further effect. And as such, then you'll see a lot of the better players hit the top 8 more often. So my point of that is, like, I think a lot of top players agree that Ice is like the best deck, and so that's what they just ran. Like, they ran Icelander or Oldham, and that's why we saw a lot of it, right? And it does a good enough job of shutting down the best aggro deck, which is probably Fi. We also have Briar too, so don't let me get Briar wrong. But like Fi and Briar are both like up there in terms of aggro decks, and the Ice is too good. It like shuts them down too good. I think what Flesh and Blood really needs, not that it just needs to make aggro better, which maybe, but it needs to make mid-range a thing. And that's something that Flesh and Blood doesn't really have, which is kind of a bummer. Like, I like aggro, but traditionally speaking, my favorite decks ever are like mid-range decks.
So for all the listeners out there that are listening to this, watching this, what is the definition of a mid-range deck then?
Right. So it's like it's in between aggro and control. So if aggro is you spend all of your resources to do damage, that's what an aggro deck is. It could be burn, it could be whatever. All your resources are damage. 0 cost, 4 go agains, or magic, burn spells, like a mono red deck. Could also be creatures too, but there's different types. Control is the opposite, where you're trying to prevent your opponent from doing stuff, either through like discarding effects. In Flesh and Blood, it would be like taxing effects like ice, and that kind of stuff. Mid-range is in between, and so in Flesh and Blood, it's hard to determine what that's going to look like. But in my opinion, like Arachne is sort of approaching this mid-range thing, where you are sort of defensive, but you still apply a little bit of pressure. So like, for example, in Magic, like Thragtusk is a good mid-range card, right? It does some damage, it gains you a little bit of life when you play it, is resilient, so it makes another little dude when it dies, and it's just kind of like a sticky card. And you just applies like this medium amount of pressure to your opponent. And generally speaking, control doesn't do like it's kind of like this trifecta of like one does better against the other and yada 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 yada. Depends on the game.
Yeah, so you're doing more of a mixture of obviously applying pressure and also getting value from your cards, like whether you're taking cards away from them or getting life or whatever you said there.
Yeah, I think like, so when I'm thinking about like possibilities in the future, I think like Necromancer could be a mid-range style deck if they have a lot of recursion and stuff. So they don't necessarily are like balls to the wall aggro. They're not necessarily like all control, but they have like this resiliency that they can like maybe recur cards and do this kind of thing where they just keep trucking like no matter what. But like I said, it's tricky with Flesh and Blood just because of how Flesh and Blood is built and designed. Whereas like unit-based games is a little more obvious, right? You can take a look at the creatures, for example, in the game to kind of get a good gauge. Because like, in Magic, it'd be like Goblin Guide is aggro, right? Or I guess now it'd be Ragavan. This shows how much of a boomer I am for Magic.
Yeah.
So my example is Goblin Guide. And then like a good mid-range card is like Thragtusk or even like Siege Rhino, right? And then your control finisher is like a big overcosted doofus that just doesn't die, and like that dragon. There's like a big dragon nowadays that people play. It's like a blue dragon or something. I don't remember what it is. Or like the serpent, like that has like hexproof and it like bounces back to your hand and does some stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
I can't remember the name of these cards, but or even like for some control decks, it's smaller creature like Geist of Saint Traft was a good one from when I played, because it has like you just pump in for 6 damage a turn, and your opponent really can't do much because you're just countering and bouncing other stuff.
Yeah, so you're basically just counteracting what your opponent's deck is, and then dropping haymakers at the end after they've run out of stuff to do. Essentially,
exactly. Yeah, you exhaust them and then drop like one big thing that you usually have to slow down the game enough for that to happen, for you to actually have the time to and the resources available to drop it. But then once you do, your opponent is usually run out of stuff, so they can't pressure you and they likely can't remove it either. Like honestly, within Flesh and Blood, I would say that Dorinthia is like kind of a mid-range deck.
I can see that for sure.
It does a very good aggro impression, but largely the way that the deck wants to play is just making sure that you're hitting so that you're gaining this like consistent pressure throughout the entire game. And you're not really using your stuff to disrupt your opponent as much, but you're just continuously threatening like more and more damage, but not a huge amount up front or anything.
Incremental value as well at the same time, isn't it?
And mid-range can be very good against, at least in certain games, can be very good against control, because at some point they'll start dropping like these mid-level threats, and if the control deck can't keep up with removing them or countering them, eventually they'll have like 2 or 3 mid-level threats, and then that's just going to be like way too much for them to deal with, right? Whereas if
how
against
do
the
you
aggro,
encapsulate that?
well, for Flesh and Blood, it's difficult because like
everything's in the moment, isn't it? Apart from obviously board state development.
Yeah, and so like I said, I think recursion and that kind of stuff could factor into it. That's where I brought up like a potential necromancer being able to, be more resilient to this kind of stuff. I think what Bill said is good, like Dorinthia, but like Dorinthia is like in a spot where it kind of gets rolled by both aggro and like the ice. So it's like,
Yeah.
nah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like just about as close as we have to a mid-range deck, but I think just the current landscape of Flesh and Blood doesn't really allow for mid-range decks to have enough value to actually like do that strategy, which is why I say like Dorinthia does a very good aggro impression sometimes, because you have those turns where it's like I'm able to attack with my Dawnblade 2 or even 3 times in a row sometimes, and like I've given it Dominate, I'm giving it +4 for the entire turn. I'm like Glistening Steel Blades on there so that it just keeps it, like it gets even more counters. And that's generally where, at least from what I've seen, where people find success with Dorinthia. But she has a lot of the tools, and I think the sort of idea for the deck is very rooted in like a mid-range strategy. But pure mid-range is kind of tough from what I've seen.
So
Yeah.
I just had an idea. So I think Arachne currently can be mid-range-esque, but it's not putting up a lot of results, probably for the same reason that Dorinthia is also not putting up a lot of like big results. So Arachne, the way like my deck that I just built is fairly mid-range, right? Because I just want to block a little bit and then attack with like unattack to threaten a block from my opponent, and the attacks should be threatening enough to warrant a block. What if you could also, and this is what gets me excited for outsiders, apply consistent but small damage that in a control matchup ensures that you win the long game, right? You don't get fatigued out, you win, but you still, it's not fast enough to beat aggro decks. I think this is where mid-range could come into play with like the Bloodrot Pox, for example.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's what I was leading up to with that.
and stealth, if stealth is like an evasion mechanic, where like you get constant like damage through, but it's not huge damage, but it's still constant enough that like your Oldims can't fatigue you out. You're still going to kill them if they continue with what they're doing. But at the same time, like your Briars and stuff could still burst you and kill you out of nowhere. Like not out of nowhere, but aggro you out. I think that's where mid-range could really fall for Flesh and Blood. I think that's what I think that's what I would like to see for it, and I think that's something that could happen.
Also, like if you're playing RPG like Final Fantasy or whatever, there's these status effects, isn't there, that are on your characters once you get like the spell casting, like silence or whatever it is. I think what they're doing now with the diseases is when it hits, you get like a little disease that then sort of plagues you for a while unless you deal with it. I think that those could also lend into that sort of strategy as well, where if you get more sort of everlasting effects like put on you, like bloody Icelander puts a frost hex on you. How do we remove that? Oh, we can't. Great.
You can thaw. You can thaw it if you're Dromai or Phi.
You're in a draconic hero. Brilliant.
Or the Emperor. The Emperor could also play thaw.
Yeah. So it's just those things like, how do we deal with stuff like that? But these sort of little disease effects that sort of attack you next turn as such.
I actually have a strong inclination that at some point, once they start introducing more magic classes, that we get more like curses and stuff. Like once again, to bring Necromancer back into the equation, I have a feeling that we'll get more curses, and I would not be surprised if that is paired with Cleric, which helps get rid of curses and gets rid of status of elements. That's way far out. That's way far out. But I think that's design space that Flesh and Blood could look at some point. Both of those classes are in the lore book, and I would not be surprised if they already have like the framework for them to some degree, because we know, talking with Brian Gottlieb, that they had the framework for Assassin for a very long time, ever since Arcane Rising. So like these other classes that we're speculating on, they could very much and probably do have frameworks, already in place. So anyway, that's just fun to think about. I like how we turned our This Week in Fab into an hour-long conversation. At this,
it's always how it is.
Which is good for this rambly podcast. So, like, did anyone want to talk about their week who didn't get to talk about their week before we start on more tangents?
No, I think
I unfortunately didn't have anything go on this week for Flesh and Blood for me. So
okay. Well, it's good that we went on the tangent then, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Multiple tangents. Talking about mid-range. That's going to be the name of this episode, by the way. It's going to be something about like mid-range and Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Yeah. And then we need to put. We didn't do this, or we did do this last time, but we should do this every episode. We should have people comment something.
All right, so like listen to the end, comment sort of thing.
Yeah, even though we're not quite at the end yet. It'll still be interesting to see who listens like this far, because I can tell sometimes when someone just read the title of the episode or video and then they commented without watching it. Like I put out a video about Genesis and the video title is like, "Will it survive 2023?" And people are like, "No, it's gonna die. There's like Lorcana and other stuff coming out this year." And I'm like, you didn't watch the video, like you didn't watch it because
I mean. That is at the end of the day, it's still engagement.
Yeah, it is.
The view as well.
It's kind of annoying that they're not actually actively engaging with what you're talking about. But
like that comment makes sense a little bit, but only if you didn't watch it. Because like my thing is like it might not do well, but I don't think for Genesis specifically, I don't think it'll ever die because Genesis existed before the TCG boom, like it existed before 2020 as like this small grassroots Canadian game. And it'll exist after it because they have set it up to a point where like it doesn't matter if the game's not doing well. The creator is just going to keep doing it because it's kind of like a passion project. So even if it's not selling well and not doing well, it's probably gonna stick around. That was kind of like, and then I had a whole bunch of criticisms about like the art and a bunch of stuff. I like some things. I like some things about it too, but I wanted to be harsh on it because I like the game and I think they could be better. They could be better. Anyway. Anyway, there's a long way of saying like what we know if you didn't watch the episode or not.
Yeah,
what's a good?
We'll have one of those. We'll have one of those at the end, can't we? With
I'll try to think of one.
I was almost gonna say we should do something similar to the heavy rain stuff where we had a bunch of people just commenting, Sean, Jason,
Jason. I wanted to. I was gonna try to theme it around the plagues, like a pox or something, but I don't know. Well,
I mean, how long have we been for today? You know, we've been chatting like we haven't been
an hour.
Yeah. So it's probably a good one. But you know what we should do? We should just get people to be hyped about blood rot pox.
Yo, yes, blood rot pox.
Like, I think blood rot pox actually potentially makes, like, depending on the other tools that assassin gets, that could be a good enabler for a mid-range strategy.
Okay.
Because it's just consistent pressure.
Okay. I also have reason to believe that this might be the case based off of the banned and suspended announcement and what Brian Gottlieb has said. He said that one of the reasons they didn't ban Crown of Seeds is that they believe that it is okay based on what is in Outsiders. And what that leads me to believe is that they think either Blood Rot Pox or maybe Stealth or something is a way to get around this kind of like consistent damage prevention and controlling kind of thing. And so like this isn't all just baseless speculation. There is speculation. There is a small amount of, evidence for this. It's not overwhelming and it's all like, circumstantial, but we're not just saying it to say it. Like, so at least I'm not just saying it to say it. So there is a little bit of reason. Plus also we have seen Blood Rot Pox. So mid-range, hopefully that's the goal. Brian Gottlieb, wink twice if mid-range is your goal for Assassin and Outsiders.
Yeah, if you guys have, if you've listened this far, Brian Gottlieb, comment down below.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Tweet it. Just tweet blinks twice with no context.
Fantastic. I reckon it should be just even more no context here. I reckon it should be fish and chips with a fresh cup of tea.
Yeah, I just.
Oh, okay.
I feel like Az would just have a conniption.
How about this? How about this? How about this? To make it more personal for each individual audience member, what is your favorite kind of tea? Or if you really want to cause us pain, if you don't like tea, tell us why. So, favorite kind of tea if you like tea, and if you don't like tea, tell us why. Personally,
Because
I drink a lot of tea. I prefer iced, but I like hot tea too. It's fine, but I prefer iced. But I prefer like cold drinks more to hot drinks in general. Well, actually, I prefer hot coffee and not cold coffee. It's a weird thing. I prefer my tea iced and my coffee hot. I could take the opposite. Fine, I'm not going to say no, but if I'm going to go order it for myself, that's what I order.
That's what I've started having, like staying up late, streaming and stuff. I've been having cold iced coffees essentially.
I used to drink a lot of the Starbucks like Frappuccino, like that you just buy
the glass
from
bottle.
Yeah.
Just
have them iced. Yeah,
they are nice.
I used to drink that a lot, like in high school.
I am also a pretty big fan of tea. I usually have just like orange pico. Red rose tea is what we usually have in our house. Although I am a big sucker for chai. I love chai tea and like chai tea lattes.
Yes. Okay, so chai is like one of my absolute go-tos, especially if I am out and about and I'm have a day out, because like coffee in general like goes right through me. If you know, coffee is a diuretic, so like it makes you have to go to the bathroom. But chai does not. Chai does not. And so if I'm out, I'll usually get a nice chai. Specifically, once again, hot. I drink my chai kind of like I drink my coffee. You can have like an iced chai or whatever, but hot chai is one of the best things. Like hot chai, a nice cup of hot chai, and then I think the brand is called like Pirouettes, but those like little thin like long, they look like straws, like wafer cookies that have like chocolate inside, or hazelnut, like that plus a nice chai is, and then maybe a little bit of 70 outside, overcast, a little bit of rain. That's an ideal day for me.
Wow, painting the picture for us all. Lovely.
Yeah, like outside, it's a little gray, a little bit of rainy. You can see like the green tree line. That's a perfect day for me.
Nice. Yeah. It's in 16. It's in 16-bit as well, like Sega Mega Drive style.
Hey, hell yeah! It's like the start of what is it, Mega Man 2, where he's like up on the office building. Except it's just him with a cup of tea and one of those little biscotti cookies. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you have some lo-fi beats to study too.
Lo-fi beats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can see the little lines of steam coming off of the coffee like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's like 8-bit potatoes in the background. She kind of moves every like couple of seconds, and then oh, lovely.
Just a perpetual 16-bit loop.
Oh, lovely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. That sounds great.
Yeah. Also comment below if you've watched 16-bit lo-fi loops before, like while chilling out, because I definitely have. Synthwave ones, like someone sat on the rooftop, flying cars going past, and it's just constant loop with like synthwave tunes. Oh, I can feel it right now with the ambient lighting.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I got some of I try to find like royalty-free ones, and that's some of the music that I used to use for some of my live streams. Now I have like more of a fantasy vibe to the live streams, but I used to do like the lo-fi stuff. Yeah, because it's like chill. It's a random aside, but I learned early on doing content creation because I love metal, and I tried to put like more royalty-free metal and that kind of stuff in the videos, and people like complained. They're like, it's too intense. It's hard for me to focus. And so that's why I use a lot of like more chill music in my videos, because people don't complain about it. It's more like universal, and it sets a vibe too. It sets like a pretty chill vibe.
That's a good thing about music, isn't it? Is it can really set a scene, like especially for creators like us. You know, if we've got a spoiler video or whatever, you're probably going to see something that sort of corresponds to that. It's
like an hour and like 10 minutes in or whatever. We haven't even talked about spoilers. Like, we're all gonna have spoilers. Like, I forgot.
Was that not in the recording at the start, or was that before we started recording?
We did mention it, but I was like, we'll talk about that later, and then we started to then I was like, oh, let's talk about our week in Flesh and Blood first, and then
well, thank God for Az's segue.
and we tangented for like an hour. So yeah. So as of a couple days ago, in fact, it was on Tuesday because we were on Az and I were on his live stream, and Az was like, "Oh, did you get the message?" Or he said something like that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna check my email," because he got a notification that we are getting spoilers, and I'm like, "Oh, let me check," and I had to refresh it, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, nope, there it is."
There it is. Yeah.
So, all three of us will be getting a preview card for Outsiders, and I don't know about you guys, but I am beyond stoked. Obviously, we can't talk about it, and I honestly I haven't seen what my card does yet, so I actually don't even know. But they did tell me it's gonna be a spicy one. Let me put it that way. I think it'll be. I know it's gonna be the most exciting reveal that I've ever done. Let me put it that way. So just to get the hype up. It's really cool. I've seen a lot of people speculate on what it could be, which is perfect because that's what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I love
perpetual hype machine right now, really, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I love it. So
it's gonna be crazy. Like the spoiler season starts in exactly 3 weeks from recording today.
Yes.
And then ends on the next Monday. Because I believe it's only from the 4th to the 6th.
It's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah.
It's the shortest spoiler season they've ever done, and I kind of don't know why. I'm curious.
They mentioned something in the email just being like, we don't have the ability to have as long of a spoiler event or a reveal event as previous years. And I don't quite know what that means. Obviously, like, we didn't ask either. Because, I mean, it's their reveal season. They can do whatever they want. So, but I'd be interested to see, like, the behind the scenes. Like just why exactly it's not, because even some of the ones that we've done even recently were like, at least it was like a week, it was like a full work week, Monday to Friday sort of thing. But this is like 3 days over a weekend. It just feels like a pull back from almost the type of hype that they would want to generate.
I'm very curious. That makes me suspicious that they might have something else to announce.
Maybe,
around then. I don't know. We do have the Blitz decks. We have like 6 new Blitz decks for Outsiders as well, right? So we have the 6 Blitz decks as well as the set. I don't know. I'm just really curious. This is going to be interesting. Really interesting. I actually don't like. This is not like sandbagging information. Like we don't actually know. Like.
No, I don't know.
Right now. At least for me personally, and I think this is true for everyone. Like, I don't think anyone's seen their spoiler card yet. Like. So we can still speculate all we want because I haven't even seen what my card does. They give me some hints as to what it is, but I don't know what it does. The hints aren't like mechanical. It's like, Anyway, like
it's just like hype hints.
Yeah.
Hype hints. Yeah.
So it's gonna
be fun, isn't it?
It's gonna be exciting. So stay tuned for that. I don't even have a date, by the way, for my spoiler. That's another thing. Like I don't know what the card does, and also I don't even have a date for like my spoiler. Like I don't know if that's true for you guys, but they're just like, hey, we're gonna give you this card. They didn't even tell me what day it is. So.
I don't think anyone knows yet what day it is yet.
I haven't. But... We weren't told either. They just asked if we were interested. And we responded back and said yes, and then we got an email pretty shortly afterward from UPS letting us know that it's at least the label is created, but we don't have dates, nothing, just that we are participating, and I'm already excited for that.
All right, so now after you've all commented your favorite tea, or if you don't drink tea, now also comment what you think we're each going to get for Outsiders. Like, I think it's pretty obvious for Az or I. Well, maybe it's not obvious for me because I also very much like Ranger. So, I mean, I guess you could probably do argument for me for Assassin or Ranger. Because I'm known to do both. But like, what do you think the Spike Feeders are going to get? Do you think Bill's going to get like a Benji card?
Maybe he's going to get some more Spike cards.
That.
Maybe some more spike cards.
Spike card.
Yeah, spike because there's
with-
spike with blood rot. That'd be hilarious. That would be so funny.
That would have been perfect. What if there's a majestic one that like it's that's kind of like Death Dealer, or not Death Dealer, but Death Touch. That's like majestic and does all three. Like
just spike with all diseases.
yeah. Spike with affliction
Spike
or something.
with Arachne's lump.
Yeah.
There we go.
Spike. Oh my god. Spike with tumor. Spike with tumor. It is not a tumor.
Spike with multiple.
It's like we've introduced you to all of the things that Arachne can inflict on people, but now for the final one, melanoma.
Oh god. Oh no.
Oh, brilliant.
That would be amazing if you got like a majestic spike card. That would be
so
hilarious. Yeah.
But yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think we're all going to get. It will be interesting to know everyone's thoughts. But yeah, it's been a fun time.
It's going to be. I think the episode after spoiler season is going to be insane because here's a little bit of a behind the scenes thing. We record Living Legends podcast on Saturdays, right? And so spoiler season is going to start on a Saturday. I will probably propose that we wait to record the episode until after spoiler season. Maybe on like a Monday or something. And so we can have like a spoilery episode. That's probably what we'll do.
Yeah, we can just do a top 5 again, can't we? Or something.
Yeah, top 5 favorite cards.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. We can have a whole episode top 5 favorite. We can have a whole episode just talking about the set in general, what we think of the new heroes and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure we have enough to talk about, like just talking about our own preview cards. Yeah, this is gonna be cool. Yeah. I'm so much. We're like only a couple weeks away. It's gonna be awesome. And then so we have spoiler season, and then the set like launches like shortly after that, right? Like, don't we have pre-release the weekend after spoilers? Because the set's like on. I want to say it's like on the 14th or something.
Yeah, well, the weekend after spoiler season is the 11th and the 12th. So I think it's the week after that, 18th and 19th, maybe, for pre-releases. I'm
going to quickly go to the Flesh and Blood website about Outsiders.
Have a looky.
Okay, so it is the weekend after. So the 17th to the 20th. So yeah. So the way I think it is we'll have spoiler season. Maybe this is why they did it. We have spoiler season, and then we have pre-release weekend, and then we have the set launch. So spoiler season is the 4th. Pre-release weekend is going to be whatever Az said.
17, 18, 19. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Pre-release weekend is the 4th. Spoilers is the 4th. Pre-release is 11th, and then the set comes out on the 17th. Oh no, you're right. No, pre-release is the 17th. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought that was a launch day.
Comes after that, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a week of just sort of getting all the information in.
That is interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, so we get to know all the cards before pre-release actually starts, essentially. So no one's going in knowing nothing.
Well,
we're all going to know everything.
Assume they spoil everything. Sometimes they don't. In fact, most of the times they don't spoil everything. This is usually a couple like unknowns. Yeah. So the release date is the 24th. So March 24th. Which is like a month and a couple of weeks away. Okay. Well, that's interesting that we have a whole week between spoiler season and the pre-release of nothing.
Just taking it all in, baby. Getting the hype train rolling, getting the content creators going.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it, obviously. I get hyped for every single Flesh and Blood set, but this is like the most excited I've been for like any card game set ever. Like, yeah, that's saying a lot. So,
yeah, thought Dynasty was big, and then suddenly bloody Outsiders comes out, and it's in the pits, and all of our favorite characters and all this sort of thing.
I mean,
favorite classes.
Dynasty is always going to be a really big favorite of mine, just because it introduced the assassin class. But now we finally get a pit set, and it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be really fun, and it's really shaping up to be not just like a cool set for like constructed, but I think it's going to be a really cool set for limited. And I want to do, like, personally speaking, I want to do some like sealed limited streams of like me and a guest like opening up a sealed pool and playing. I think that could be a ton of fun. I'm going to be going to my local pre-release. I really want to do some drafts. I'm really looking forward to it. I know a lot of people don't like it now, but I personally really liked Uprising Draft. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think people don't like it because they had to play it for so long. Like, they had to play it, and then they had Dynasty, and they still had to play Uprising Draft. But I'm looking forward to a new draft set. And no Arcane Barrier. Probably. We don't know, but probably not. Probably not.
Yeah.
Unless there's like Azalea gets like an arcane arrow or something. Like,
oh, imagine that. Yeah.
I've always
deals
thought
deals damage that can't be prevented. So no Oasis Respite or something like that.
We'll just wait for the set where there's Wizard and Ranger, so you can have the hybrid Wizard Ranger.
Absolute Arcane Wizard.
Arcane
Ranger.
I mean, that's a thing in D&D. Arcane Archer is a thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, imagine having arrows that just deal arcane damage.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ranger would
Maybe
still...
we do that.
Ranger would
D&D
still be...
campaign. Hey.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay, so this could be the last thing we talk about.
Yeah.
So we have been in talks again about the D&D campaign. So we are going to be doing a D&D campaign set in the world of Wraith, playing as custom characters from the world. So we're not playing as, like, you know, Greiner or whatever. We're going to make our own characters as though they were in the Flesh and Blood world. This is something we've been talking about for over a year. It's been postponed and yada yada, but we're actually going to in motions to hopefully do this soon. So yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting. I think we want to do like pretty good production values on it at least, and make it into like a really fun thing for everyone to watch. I think we can say now it's going to be us. So it's going to be the Living Legends crew, and our DM is going to be Kale from Dead Summer Art. I've been thinking of maybe getting an extra, like another person in, but we could also just play with us as well.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? If it's just us to begin with, you know, it's logistically easier because we're all available at certain times.
It is pretty easy.
So yeah, as long as we can make it work with Kale, then
I was gonna say, the funny thing is having Kale in on it puts a huge wrench because it puts in another time zone in another country because Kale is Australian. So now we'll have Australia, Canada, the US, and the UK all in the thing, which I think is pretty cool.
So as spread out as we possibly can be.
Right? Yeah.
And what better way to do that but then encapsulate our favorite characters in a world of Wraith when we're doing it across the world of our planet Earth as well.
Yeah. So, and I'll give people a little bit of a preview. So I know what I'm playing, or who I'm playing. I'm going to be playing an assassin, obviously. The funniest part about this is I made this assassin before assassin was even announced as a class. We started to do this like way like last year, like after Everfest. So I have been wanting to do the assassin since then, and now it's just even more perfect because it's an actual class in Flesh and Blood. And so as an assassin, I mean, under the D&D rules, I am a rogue subclass assassin. So that's what it is. Which I have played before. I made an original character, but I might also just play my new character villain, which is something I've been considering. Haven't really played a lot of female characters before, but I have actually played a female assassin before in a D&D campaign, and she was, and we have you know, already swore this episode. She was a bad bitch, man. She like cut people up. Like she did not care. Like,
I love it.
So, yeah. I might play a villain again, and she's you know, she could be a team player. I'm not gonna be a crazy, like I personally, by the way, I love D&D and like tabletop RPGs in general. Not just D&D, but I like Cyberpunk, and I also like I haven't really gone to Pathfinder, but I hear it's just like 3.5, so I'd probably really like it. So I'm always a team player for these kind of games. I want my goal for these games, even when I'm not the DM, is I want everyone to have fun and to have a good shared story. Like that's for me, that's what's the most fun. I like, killing monsters or whatever, but having a fun shared story experience with everyone is like really what I want. So I'm looking forward to this.
You got a great cast of characters for it.
Yeah. So my character is a spider assassin. So villain is going to be a spider assassin. And one of the reasons why I decided to go with villain instead of the other character that I was making, which was a male character named Cyrus, is that I have seen people guess that all spider assassins are female, and I think that might be right. Like, I think almost every picture of a spider assassin is either ambiguous, like you have no idea, or clearly like a female type character. Like
yeah. There's a lot of art, isn't there, with females on? So
like I can't think of a single assassin card that's clearly a spider assassin where that's like a dude with like a beard or something. Like there's a couple that are assassin cards, but they don't look like spider assassins. It's just like they just look like Fleece the Frail, where it's just like they just look like thugs. Like they don't actually look like spider assassins.
Like I'm looking at like Plunder the Poor, Annihilate the Armed. Those have what seem to be male presenting characters at the very least, but
a lot of them are like super ambiguous. Like they have masks and they have like you can't tell. Like
well, yeah, like I'm pulling these back out again, but especially the Majestics, like you know, pretty long-haired girl, pretty long-haired girl in a bunch of bodies, and then just Arachne for surgical extraction.
Which is we know is meant to be like you're not supposed to know, like it's meant to be ambiguous.
Exactly.
So like anyway, for that reason, that's another reason to play a villain. Also, I already have the art, and she looks cool. So so there's that. Exactly. So there's that. Yeah. And so I won't spoil who these other guys are playing. If they want to, they can talk about them, or they can make a surprise. But that's what I'm playing. I'm gonna be stab.
I actually streamed one afternoon. Like I think it was as you say, it was a long time ago that we started doing this. Yeah, the idea was there. Yeah. So I did a stream one afternoon, and it was building a rune blade character for D&D 5th edition, because that's what we're going to be playing. So I started building a rune blade for it, because I was going to go down this sort of demonic route where I was making a pact with Blasphemit was the whole story. But I'm just going to put that in the can now. I'm just going to do a different character completely, and it's going to be a ranger character. So it's going to be like there is a class ranger in there, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean, like you have a lot of options with ranger, because like there's ranger, and then you have a ton of subclasses to choose from. And we are going to be, I'm pretty sure we're going to be 5th level, so you can actually pick your subclass. So you'll be able to be a subclass, like how I'm a rogue subclass assassin.
There's a monster hunter, isn't there, for ranger?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
I think that's what I'm going to be, some sort of with like a favored foe and all that sort of stuff, depending on what the foe is that we're facing.
So like if we're going to be in the pits, you can be like favored foe Dreg or something like that. Like it doesn't have to be
Dreg,
it doesn't have to be like a D&D thing. It could be like a flesh and blood thing, which would be cool.
Yeah. I've got loads of ideas for the character and stuff, so it's going to be good. But yeah, that's all I'm going to give.
I think there's a bunch of really cool stuff. I wonder if you can do favored foe like human, and so you're basically like a bounty hunter. So you're just like a blackjack bounty hunter. So your favored foe is like hunting humans. Oh, that could be cool too. Anyway, I like D&D and I like making characters. So it also makes me, if I'm going to play villain, I have to change a couple things, because I gave my original character a bow, but villain wouldn't use a bow. She would probably use like darts or like kunai or something. So I'll probably have to change that. But anyway,
throwing stars, or they're like little pointy dagger things that you throw.
I'm thinking of more like the not shuriken, but like the pointy dagger things.
Kunai.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, kunai.
Okay.
Nice. I think she'd use kunai. But
yeah. I'm intending on playing a cleric because I just enjoy cleric things. And
thank God, we need a healer.
I decided relatively late on that the backstory for my character, I just like could not decide on a backstory forever. But I was actually mentioning this to Kale in our chat. But I've decided to basically base the backstory off of a specific character from Chainsaw Man. The manga, like after the anime ends, for the people who do know, I'm basing my character off of Asa. Just the idea of her, I don't want to spoil it for people who don't know the story arc of it, but essentially it's a character who basically at death's door unknowingly makes a deal with a devil who is way more powerful than she realizes, and is like, I can take over and just make myself completely autonomous in your body at a moment's notice. But they kind of have like a back and forth of like, I know that you can't do that, but you need me anyway. And I don't know. I just think that would be really cool for like somebody who's trying to do a bunch of good and then just like accidentally agrees to a pact with like a big bad like demonastery entity.
That's like a warlock almost, isn't it? A warlock in D&D is something.
Yeah, where you have like a patron.
Yeah.
But
really good as well.
I'm definitely going to be like specifically a cleric, but just in an unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Well, don't clerics have pacts with deities as well, don't they?
They don't have pacts.
Favored something? Or
they have. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they have like deities. They have like, I'm it's like their church or their religion or whatever that they can draw like, their like healing power from.
So in D&D, clerics, like Bill said, you get your power from your deity, like specifically from your deity. So when you're doing spells, you're like praying to them, and then they give you the thing. And it's like, Mistra or Tyr or whatever for D&D. I don't know how it works in Flesh and Blood. Like, we don't know. Magic's a very interesting thing in Flesh and Blood. They've set it up to be regionally based, but it also kind of might be the same thing in the grand scheme of things. Because like in Aria, people draw power from like the flow, which is kind of like this mystical energy. And then like we know in Volcor they draw power from like draconic blood and lava and stuff. Aether, they draw power from like also Aether. Which is why Kano is the Drakai of Aether, because he's like master of the Aether. I think
pulling pranks for people.
Dead Summer Art and also DM Armada might have both speculated that Aether and the flow are the same thing. Like that all might be just the same thing, just appearing differently in
forms. Yeah.
Different. Yeah. Sorry that I cut you off, Bill. I apologize. I think I cut you off.
That's basically what all I had to say on that. I still haven't quite fully fleshed out my character, but that's the idea that I'm going to be going for. I'm hoping to be able to make it different enough from, like Az was saying, very similar to like a warlock that has a pact. But I think just through the flavor of it, I'm really excited to be able to sort of bring that sort of dynamic into D&D, because in the chapters, it's like after chapter 100 or something, we get introduced to this new character, and it's hilarious. I love it very much. Yeah.
I think it would actually be really interesting if you had the demonic deity, but they weren't where you got your powers, like your spells from. You still also had your deity, and so it's like this conflict in you between this demon and then also the god that you like worship. And so like, I don't know, I think it could be a cool dynamic.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff, like a bunch of really interesting options available.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's gonna be cool.
Interesting. So like my character is a spider assassin. The way she's dressed, it looks like she might be from either Volcor or Mysteria, because she definitely has that like almost like a female ninja attire, like a kunoichi kind of attire. So I'm not sure yet. I haven't fleshed that part out yet, but I'm looking forward to stabbing people.
Yeah, good.
Stab.
However it ends up, it's going to be really, really fun. I think it's just going to be a really good time to be able to bumble around.
In the pits, your sort of mindless mobs can be dregs, can't they? You know, if you want to simulate some combat, they can be mindless mobs.
I think you have a lot of options for the pits. So there's like the dregs, but there's also like gangs and thugs, and you also have people from metrics who could be shady, like black market dealers, and they might have like super powered like tech on them.
Yeah.
So like you could, we could be bullying or some like merchant, but he like busts out like these giant like power fists or something.
Yeah.
Like
that's a sneak peek of what my character is going to be. He's going to be like a steampunk ranger, essentially. So he's going to might have some sort of gadget that Kale will be able to design for the cat, because he said he's going to design all of us like a special item as well. So we can use something sort of unique to us.
Mine are my daggers. Stab.
Oh yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah. Spider's bite before Spider's bite existed, mate.
They're going to be more. I think I want them to be more painful than Spider's bite. This is too strong, but originally my inspiration for this came from the black knife from Elden Ring. And slight spoilers for Elden Ring. It's not really, because it's like backstory. It happened before the game even started, and they even say it. But there's a knight of whatever knives, the knight of 100 knives, whatever, where the first god was slain, and it was killed with this black dagger. And so that's kind of where I got the inspiration for. I want a black dagger.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but obviously in D&D, it's not going to be like overpowered, right?
No. Yeah, it's just more of like a theme thing, isn't it? Really, but
yeah. Traditionally, I really like playing like sorcerers and wizards, and I really like playing rogues, and I always like to give my rogues like shenanigans. So like the last rogue I played in D&D was a character called Rivian. It was in a 2-shot in a bigger campaign, and so we had a bigger campaign. My main character was Vanowith, who was he's a sorcerer, and I kind of played it up. He was kind of like Tuxedo Mask from some Sailor Moon. He's a very handsome debonair sorcerer with like a flourish. He liked to do flourish. He was a moon elf, and anyway, and so we had a 2-shot within it, and it was a heist, and so like we played the heist, and then we also had like our characters investigate the heist afterwards. It was really cool. It was a really cool thing.
Nice.
And so for the heist, I played an assassin rogue named Rivian, and she, like I said, she shredded people, because there's certain things you can take in D&D that make it so your assassin just gets auto crits. Like every attack just crits. I think it's if your opponent is unaware and hasn't taken a turn, like you get free crits. And so I had these things that make me attack multiple times, and so it's just like absolutely just crit. Like so I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun, and I want to. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say in D&D I had a tattoo that also let me change the way I look, which was another thing. I like having some shenanigans. So there's magical tattoos in D&D, and I was like, oh, I want the one that makes you change the way you look. So she could like disguise herself to make the assassinations easier.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a video game, right? Where you're playing Hitman or whatever, and you take their clothes, and then everyone are like, "Oh yeah, you're the new chef,
the butler.
You're the new chef, aren't you?" And you're like, yes, sir."
Oh, that game is so sick. I haven't played that in so long.
I'm watching one of my favorite streamers play it. There's like a roguelite mode in the new Hitman, and so
really,
yeah, and so I've been watching him play it. Anyway,
yeah.
So look forward to that. Soon, probably in the next couple months, if I had to guess. Yeah. Probably won't be until after Outsiders, but who knows? Who knows? We have that whole week where there's like nothing going on, at least that we know of. I think it would be really fun to have the D&D or the Wraith D&D campaign close to Outsiders if we're going to be in the pits. That way we could be like...
Yeah, I think we'll do our best to make sure that it's still within the perpetual hype machine. outsiders. It would be great timing for it. So just stay tuned, I guess, with regards to that. But
yeah,
the lots of stuff going on.
The current plans are it's to be like a one shot, or maybe a smaller thing, not a big campaign. But we'll see how people like it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Because it's one of those things as well, which we could we could release on at Living Legends as an audio version as well, because it's D&D and we're doing everything. So
could do that, yeah.
Yeah, it just depends on how we want to do that, but yeah, it's going to be good fun. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's
tangents aplenty in this episode.
Wow, this whole episode is one big tangent.
One giant cluster. Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's been a good one. Like,
absolutely.
I don't know. I think we've had some pretty productive conversation.
Absolutely.
With no game plan going into it.
Yeah.
No game plan. Yeah.
Like the game plan was literally just like, I don't know. We'll talk about our getting spoilers, but other than that,
show up and see what happens.
We'll just talk. I think that's one of the best parts about this podcast, though, and the fact that we can just do that and talk for 2 hours with no topic.
Yeah.
Hopefully, still be entertaining for folks.
Yeah. Remember back in the day, I used to have a full bloody script when I was hosting. Now it's just like, nah. CBA. I need that. A couple of notes, here and there. That's it. Just tangent.
Yep. The most that I ever do these days is I'll have a couple bullet points on like the main topics.
Yeah.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that said, I don't know if we've already talked a lot, and I don't know if we need an arsenal step for this episode where we literally just tangented a lot, unless either of you guys have something in particular you'd like to talk about or whatever.
Well, I did watch the last episode of The Last of Us TV show today.
Ooh, nice.
Which is absolutely absurd. Really is. It's fantastic. So I definitely recommend people watching it.
I'm very curious to see how close it follows the game. So I've not seen the show yet. I don't have it's on HBO, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't have HBO, but I have played through the game a couple times, the original one, and I have played through it on the hardest setting, like Survivor or whatever. And it's one of those games I would describe as an experience, but not necessarily fun. Like it's a good experience to have, especially on Survivor mode where you can't. The resources are really limited. You always feel like you're struggling. It's really, really intense and challenging, but not so much that it's like unfun. Well, but like it's a good experience, and the story and the plot of The Last of Us is pretty good, and it has a good ending. I've not played Last of Us 2. I heard it's good.
I haven't played any of them. I've known that they're obviously critically acclaimed, but I've went into the TV show knowing nothing essentially, and it's just mental. I'm
a fairly decent fan of the studio Naughty Dog. I love Uncharted. I'm a huge fan of Uncharted. I love like the adventure aspects. Uncharted's fun. Uncharted's like kind of the opposite. It's like Indiana Jones. You're playing Indiana Jones. It's ridiculous. There's always some sort of weird, mystical thing going on that's sort of vaguely rooted in reality, but sometimes not, just like Indiana Jones. And it's just dumb.
Like a cinematic game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just dumb and fun, and you shoot people, and who cares if you just murdered like 100 guys? It's just a game, whatever. But Last of Us is like, oh shit, I just murdered this guy. Like, what have I done? Kind of situation. And it's like I said, it's an experience. I don't know if it's a good experience. But it's one that I don't regret. But I don't know if it's not a game that I come back to. I'm like, ooh, I want to play some Last of Us. It's so much fun. It's like stressful. When you play on the hardest when you play on the hardest difficulty, at least it's stressful, man.
That's what I've heard. It's more like it's an experience than a game.
They do a good job,
which is fine. Like that's a totally legit form of media and entertainment, but it doesn't necessarily lend itself, I think, at least to a massive amount of replayability.
It's like a survival horror game. Like all of the enemies, at least on the hardest difficulty, once again, all of the enemies are threatening at all times. Like even if you have a bunch of weapons, which you'll never have at the hardest difficulty, you'll always have like 2 shotgun shells, and 1 arrow, and like a single bullet or something like that. And you have to do a lot of sneaking and running and fighting for your life. But like
that's what I like though. I like stuff like that. I love hard difficulty, like pure stress inducing experiences.
Give it a shot, man.
Sucks me in.
You could probably get it for pretty cheap these days. I think they just remastered the game actually. It's not super long, but it's like
there was just a ridiculous scene in this series, like just absolutely ridiculous. It reminded me of there's a scene in Game of Thrones, right? It's an episode called Hard Home where they go to the northern camp, and then all the raiders like batter down the fortress, and there's just hordes of bloody hordes of the I can't remember what they call
White Walkers.
Yeah, White Walkers are the commanders, aren't they? But they got the other ones as well that just run at you.
Oh, like the zombie things.
Just the zombie things, yeah. It's just reminded me of that. It's just like the threat level of it is just like crazy. Like the episodes are quite spaced out, Last of Us, but the threats come up every other episode or so. So it's not like Walking Dead, where at the end of Walking Dead, zombies are just getting killed left, right, and center. They're not even a threat anymore. But the Last of Us things that are in there are just ridiculous. Like run at you at full speed, and it's just like pure petrifying.
Now to get you a little more scared, did you know that the cordyceps fungus in Last of Us is a real thing, and that it actually affects like some animals? Like, so it affects insects. Like it literally like bores into their brain and then like mind controls them.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It's like a real thing. And like it's one of those situations where it's like, I don't know if like, undead zombies could ever exist or whatever, because a lot of them are like, magical, whatever. But something like the cordyceps, like, I don't know, man. Like, you could get a strain of this fungus one day that's like somehow mutated or something and then it just kills humans. Like, I don't know. It's not like actually, it's not actually impossible. Probably very unlikely, but. It's one of those things that's in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, you could see like something like infecting us and then just killing us, like just outright. But the way that this thing infects them, and then they suddenly like doing all this jerky movement, and then suddenly like running at you and stuff. That's a bit far fetched, but still.
Well, like in the grand. What the actual cordyceps does is, I think it mind controls the bugs, and then it makes them go to a place where it releases spores to then mind control other bugs. So it's trying to replicate, right? That's what every living being basically has, this kind of function where they try to reproduce, right? Except for pandas who just want to die. But yeah, so like that's what it does. And so if infected humans, it would probably do something similar, where you would it would mind control you to a space that it felt would maximize its potential to reproduce. So, yeah.
But it's very, very good, very, very good series. So I haven't played the game. Probably will do after I finish this. There's only 4 episodes left. Like I think there's 9 in the run. They've already renewed it for season 2. This is resounding success. But
interesting. I wonder if they.
Yeah, very good fun.
I wonder if the ending is going to be the same ending as the game. That's all I'll say. People who beat the game know. The first game is like amazing. It has like such a great ending. And I know there's a sequel. I don't think there needed to be a sequel. I heard the sequel's good, but like the first game ended in such a way that was like, ooh, like I don't want to spoil it for you since you haven't seen it. But
I haven't played any of the games, so I thought it's all zombie apocalyptic sort of style thing. I was like, all over that. So good stuff so far.
I mean, as like any good zombie thing, at least in The Last of Us, a lot of the big tension comes from how shitty humans are to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's already been conflict between people and stuff, and people have had to kill other people that they didn't want to, and all this sort of thing. And so it's interesting. But that's about it. That's all I had anyway for the Arsenal. But we've probably gone on. We haven't been talking about Flesh and Blood for at least half an hour.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. We're like 2 hours into the episode now. It's way longer than normal.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's probably a good place to cap it all off. Thank you all for joining us for today's episode of the Living Legends podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation we had about Flesh and Blood and also other things.
Other thing.
Yeah. Just hanging out. Just hanging out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's toss it off to Bill. For your, where can they find you? Where can everyone find you?
Yeah. So I'm Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF, as well as on YouTube at Spike Feeders Fab for live, in-person, edited Flesh and Blood gameplay. Also, if you're still here, congratulations, you made it.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. And then what about you, Az? Where can people find you?
What tea is your favorite drink as well? What's your favorite tea in the comments?
Yep. Yeah.
Let us know if
That's
you've
important
made it this far. Yeah, as from Go Again Gaming YouTube channel and Go Again Gaming AZ on Twitter. Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. Obviously, we're all going to have spoilers as well, so make sure you stay tuned to all of our platforms. So yeah, it's going to be good fun. And then I'll throw it over to Kel, who's hosted this absolute train wreck of a podcast.
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way. And you can be sure that all of our preview videos are going to be absolute bangers. So you definitely want to check in and watch all those. So yeah. I've been Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. You can find me at Red Zone Rogue everywhere. YouTube.com, Twitter mostly. Recently hit 15K subs on YouTube, so we're going to be doing a celebration soon. I'm waiting for the splash art for Villain to be finished. And once it's finished, I'm going to have a trailer. I'm going to make a trailer for it. And it's going to be really cool. I have a lot of ideas for it. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing a giveaway during it too. We're going to be giving away some cool stuff, including a Black Tech Whispers and some other cool stuff. So got a theme it assassin. But, thanks for watching or listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Fantastic.
Have a great week, everybody.